Like an eagle. You're like a big eagle. Look at that big pretty bird. Oh. So Kowia Jon here from the Kowiachobee Animal Preserve, the executive director there, and I'm here today with Keriellen Lohrman, who runs the Bird Gardens of Naples. So what we've been doing is trying to interview people that in the nonprofit business, but we also wanted to give them an opportunity to describe to people what they are or what their purpose is and what they're actually trying to achieve, rather than you to hear it from somebody else and them guess at what they're really doing. So, Carrie, you and I have talked many times about things in the business. I do dabble a little bit in the bird rescue, but nowhere near to the extent that you do. By the way, at any given point in time, this woman could be taking care of anywhere from 250 to 350 birds. What's the most you've ever had?
Highest number was 452.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Can you imagine that? I mean, if you ever had a bird, they're a hot mess. They really are. So yeah, a lot of respect goes out to anybody that can handle that or even tries to attempt that. So basically, just feel free to kind of give us an idea of how you got started in this, why you do it, and basically what your actual purpose is. Because like with a lot of us, there's a lot of misconception about what we are actually here for and what we do.
So actually I've always loved birds, had birds growing up, mostly little birds, and I tell everyone don't ever underestimate a little bird. They're just as much fun as a big bird. When we got to Florida, I started getting larger birds and started breeding birds and started breeding larger birds, and then I decided I wanted to have a piece of land where the older breeder birds who were no longer producing offspring could just retire out life, could just like live their life and enjoy. And of course, with that comes rescue.
Yeah.
So anything that's adoptable that comes in, we adopt out. I don't want pet birds sitting here. They belong in homes with good people. We have a whole vetting process for that. Birds that have some issues and need some rehabilitation, we'll do our best to rehabilitate to get into a home. Then we've got some birds that have some major hormonal issues and they get to stay in sanctuary. We have some older breeder birds in sanctuary. We also do adopt out the older breeder birds to other facilities such as the Everglades Wonder Gardens, the Westminster Christian School. I don't want a small zoo or nonprofit going out and purchasing a baby bird to put on display, so I have no issues with placing birds with people like that. Also, conservation. Conservation is so important. We support many conservation programs, even locally. So that's important. Education. Without education, we have no future.
Yeah, exactly.
So COVID took a big hit in our education department because we're not getting to go out and do the public speaking and the awareness that we normally did. We closed our tours down for over a year.
Yeah, we talked about that because like we were asking each other, they close down or did you close down? When a big part of what you do is education, and the big part of the venue or the people that you work with are schools, libraries. These are congregating places, and it kind of dried up your business because it's like the idea of having people come in with animals when you're not even sure if you want the kids there safely. We took all of the people took a real major hit when I was up at Big Cat Habitat a couple weeks ago. Same problem. How do you survive when the money's not coming in from the actual job that you do or the cause that you have, and especially like with you and I, we talked about this before. We're not in this for the money, and we don't necessarily want to charge people to come and enjoy this place. We want the poor people to be able to enjoy it just as much as the privileged people.
Yes, absolutely. Education's important to everyone.
Exactly.
And fortunately, I do feel that if I made it through COVID, I can make it through anything now. And working with other rescues, and other people in not just rescues. There are some people who do small stuff who are not a 501 that I give things to. We all need to work together. That's really important. Even Sidicus Bird Food made a huge contribution to me recently, and I am passing that on to not just other nonprofits, but other people with birds. I'm absolutely giving you some. And we want it to be put out there. We want to share it. We want people to reap the benefits, not just me keep all the benefits of their donation. Not to keep more than I can use. It's important to spread it. Spread the wealth.
And that's actually kind of one of the things I love most about you is you really want to work with everybody else out there, and you're working with other groups, not only with the rescue, but with the education as well as the breeding programs. And I admire that a lot, including recently. Now, we just went and visited a bunch of birds that she had rescued, a small amount of them, by the way. Recently, Keriellen drove across the country twice. From Seattle, Washington to Florida to rescue 150 birds.
That was the total number.
Now, all of them didn't come here, so you're working with
they did all come here. And then they got adopted. I've got people in the aviary now adopting out birds.
But you also worked with other facilities as well.
Yes, the Everglades Wonder Gardens is getting some of them. Westminster Christian School got a good number of them. A lot of private adoptions, though. Okay. Definitely.
Yeah. And that's what's needed. And again, there's that policy or that saying out there is adopt first. There's enough animals that need homes that you don't need to go out and purchase, or be a part of the cycle. There are a lot of animals out there that need love, that need homes, that you can go and get them without having to go to a store or something like that. So.
And not to take away from the breeders who are breeding conservation birds. I mean, it's really important that some of our less seen or known species do get placed in the right situations. And that's important.
And that's one of the things that, I'm happy because we agree on that, because, breeding in captivity tends to get a really, really bad press, or people are frowned upon, and people I don't think always realize that there's a lot of conservation issues there. I've often said about the tigers, everybody wants to say there's too many tigers in captivity, and why do they always look at the possible 4,000 that are in captivity as a problem? Why don't they look at the 3,600 that we only have in the wild as the problem? Why don't they look at everybody talks about science. Why don't they look at the science that a lot of times in captivity now, animals are genetically more diverse because we control the breeding, but in the wild, because of lack of habitat, we have bottlenecking DNA. So we have wild animals that are actually not as healthy as the captive animals. And so this is the science that gets overlooked a lot in the simple debate over, where they belong. So I always question why do we debate where something belongs over whether it's healthy or whether it should exist.
And even with the bird industry, we're seeing captive conservation programs now starting to be released into the wild. And if those programs were not done, then there wouldn't be anything to release into the wild.
I remember watching a documentary about Central America where they were the scarlet macaws. They were actually using the pet birds, the rescued pet birds, to breed. But they were worried about them surviving in the wild, so what they did was they trained the offspring to forage and then let the offspring into the wild. It was a very interesting program.
There is far more to conservation than most people realize.
Well, and it's the rescue, too, because you actually drove cross-country in a bus, and you had several issues. You explained having to insulate the floor because the floor got too hot, so you had to stop and get insulator board and plywood. And then afterwards, because of the mess that was made, imagine traveling with, 50 birds and stacked up kennels and the smell that's going to build up in a very small amount of time. But afterwards, cleaning all that mess up, ripping up the temporary floor, it's crazy. So even a rescue, it's not just go across country, pick up birds and bring them back. There is so much work involved in just the trip.
Absolutely.
Now, there's one question that I did want to bring up, especially because we've talked about this before. You're in the rescue business. You take in a lot of birds, and many times you take in birds that are not healthy, that are sick and have diseases, and a lot of them could have been prevented. And I would like you to kind of talk about some of the things that people do that are mistakes that could have been prevented just from the care. But also, before you actually go through that, I asked you one time about the percentages. I'm a numbers guy, so I like to put those numbers out there, especially when they're ridiculous. So out of the birds that you take in on a regular basis, what percentage of them are sick and have problems because of very simple things that could have been avoided, diet-wise or care-wise?
The biggest thing I see, a lot of birds come in actually quite healthy, other than their diet.
Yeah.
Being fed table food, snacks, a French fry, a potato chip. We don't think of feeding our African gray one French fry as much.
Yeah.
But when you think of weight, body size ratio, that fried salty potato for a small African gray is a huge amount.
And by the way, it doesn't matter what it is. Everything likes salt, and they all like pork
and
too.
Sugar.
Yeah, all the stuff that's bad for you. Pork rinds, oh yeah.
Everyone's like, well, the bird wouldn't eat it if it wasn't good for him. Yeah. That's not true. No. I'm lactose intolerant, and I'll still dip into an ice cream every now and then. Yeah. So they're no different than us. Yeah. They're opportunistic omnivores.
Okay. So like, what do people usually feed that they think is okay for the bird or good for the bird, even that they really shouldn't?
Table for pasta, potatoes,
and I know you
rice.
mentioned several times peanuts.
Peanuts.
Yeah. What is it exactly about the peanuts? Because I know a lot of people argue with me about it sometimes too. What exactly
high in fat?
Yeah. What does it do to them though? What does it cause?
Fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
Fatty liver disease. And the other thing is aspergillosis sometimes. Peanuts carry mycotoxins, anaphylaxins, and many times the aspergillosis fungus. A lot of times people say, oh, but I get my bird the raw organic peanuts. Well, they're worse than the dry roasted because they've never even had heat applied.
Okay, so now you stated the disease. What does that actually look like?
It's inhaled. It's a fungus that is inhaled into the ear sacs. And basically it eventually occludes the ear sacs. And very much like emphysema in a human. And it doesn't happen with one
So it's like if your bird develops a peanut habit, it's kind of like a smoking habit.
In essence.
Major respiratory problems. Yeah,
and that's the other thing. A lot of people tend not to realize they'll smoke in the house with a bird. Animals, you shouldn't be smoking with animals, and yet you shouldn't be smoking, but let alone with animals in your house or children. It's second. We all know secondhand smoke.
I kind of as a rule tell people, if it's not good for you, it's probably not good for them. But we're gluttons for punishment.
And
with our ice cream.
People ask me, why do they sell that if it's not good? Well, I can go to Publix and grab a 6-pack of beer and a cotton cigarettes, can't I? Pack of fried chicken.
Yeah. It's all about what is sellable. It's a commerce business. It's capitalism.
And I do tell people, the internet of misinformation, the web of misinformation. There's a lot of great information on the web, but look for articles written by people who are actually like an avian nutritionalist. Yeah. And there's a few good doctors out there who do write on that. And if anyone wants to know, they can contact me and I'll direct them in the right direction to talk to those people who actually know what they're talking about.
Another conversation we've had in the past, and I've let you know that I have rescued birds in the past and taken them in nowhere near the scale you have. But I stopped doing it with the idea that I felt like I was putting them right back in. Or you make the deal where you tell people, well, if you don't want to put it back, but they're too embarrassed to bring it back, so they end up putting them somewhere else, and it becomes part of the cycle. But it is important. Otherwise, you just it's important because if you have too many birds, you can't give them all enough attention, and they really need to. So tell us, you got a huge adoption program. You rescued a bunch of birds. You've been adopting them out. So tell us a little bit about your adoption program and how it works.
So after the birds have been vetted, and we also, when you do adopt, we tell you have to make an appointment to revet the bird. And somebody asked, why would you revet a bird that's been vetted? Because it's important that you build a rapport with your veterinarian and that bird. Yeah. But what we do is have you fill out an application. We have you come and do the educational tour. We do home visits, vet references. If you don't have a vet because you don't have animals, we'll gladly set you up with a local vet. We have done a lot of Zoom stuff now due to COVID. I do long distance adoptions. I recently drove to Louisiana to do adoption. I did the home visit, and I think I'll be doing a home visit to adopt a different person in Louisiana. So I have traveled. I've traveled to Georgia. I've traveled as far away as Maine to do a home visit. I also rely on people I trust to do home visits for me.
Well, that's excellent. And again, for people watching, why do you do this? Because it is that serious. It is that big of a decision, and it's what's right for the birds. I mean, we've made that statement before. It's just as important for the bird to choose the person as the person to choose the bird. So no, don't think you're just going to come over there and say, "Oh, I want a bird," and expect somebody to give it to you. You know, because basically the problem is that people get things with the idea that they can just get rid of them if it doesn't work out. We don't want those people. We want people that are serious.
And that is one of the keys. I foster first.
Yeah.
So if you choose a bird that you want, it goes to your house on a trial basis. I don't want people swapping them out like a trade-up program, but I want that bird to be in your house, for you to settle with that bird, to make sure there's going to be an actual bond there, and that it's going to work out, that you're happy, that the bird's happy. So we foster first, and then we adopt. But we always adopt a foster with the idea of a foster failure.
So they have the contingency plan B. That's always so good. So is there anything else you want to add that you want to basically let everybody know about your mission? Of course, this is the Bird Gardens of Naples, Florida. And
we're always looking for volunteers.
Yeah, always looking for volunteers. We're always
all
looking for volunteers.
Not just me, and, all of us.
So Kowiochobee's in Naples. She's in Naples. Real quick, give us a website address where people can look for you. www.birdgardensofnaples.org, and the phone number is on the website. That's my cell phone. If I don't answer, send me a text. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So one last thing is, people have often asked me, with what I'm doing, what does it take to do this?
Passion.
Passion. She said it before I said it.
It's the only answer, passion.
I show people the rock. If somebody gave me a stone, Dave Johnson gave me a stone one time, because that was the first thing that I told him when he asked me about what it takes. And it's just a round stone that's sitting in the front of the property that says passion on it, because that's what it takes. It's not a part-time thing. It's not a hobby even. It's your life. It's everything you do. You eat, sleep, and breathe what you do. So don't even think about getting into this kind of thing if you don't have a passion for it. So
my daughter's pregnant, and she was in false labor last night, and she said to me, "Mom, I think I'm having the baby." I said, "You have to wait. I have a film tomorrow." That's the level of it. Yeah. So awesome. So again, Kowia Jon from Kowiachobee Animal Preserve, Keriellen Lohrman from Bird Gardens of Naples, and love you people. Just support them, support us. And again, we state this over and over again. If you want to help animals, really want to help animals, support local. Support local. Don't give to these national agencies. You don't know where the money's going, and you'd be surprised to find out what they're not doing with it. But here, everything's survival. We need the money. We need the help, and it's not just money. It's Home Depot cards. Material. And a lot of people want to say that's not big enough. I never argue with somebody. I never argue with this. I get it on YouTube all the time. It's like, that cage is nowhere near big enough. I said, you know what? I agree with you 100%. Send me $20,000 and I'll fix it right now. Yes.
That's
Come out
basically
here with a shovel and some wire.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll both fix it.
Yeah, we'll all fix it together. So we need the support. There's people out there fixing the problems, taking care of the problems, coming up with the solutions. Support them. Don't just be one of those people that's going to sit there and complain that there's a problem. Don't be a judger, be a helper.